a lot of changes when we went back for reorg. They have actually changed most of the subcommittees on Ways and Means, and so we really just don't have any idea what a budget or anything is going to look like moving forward. We're not quite where we were. Right now, we're not quite where we were this time last year. So anyway, so a lot remains to be seen, but we share your concerns, and you know, and even Michael, on the other side of that, one of the things that I keep getting complaints from my constituents, it's almost like people are afraid to write prescriptions now. And I have these elderly people that have chronic pain that have been taking pain medicine for a year, and they can't even get their physicians to write it. And so, you know, we're actually even seeing both sides of this. But same thing, if we're going to cut back like this, we have to have a place for these folks to go to get the help that they need. So something that's certainly important to all of us.
I fought for years and years. Patrick B. Harris was about a third operational. It's now almost fully operational. We fought tooth and nail to get that done. We've got to somehow smooth the process between the health agencies and our mental health agencies as far as getting those folks to where they need to be, to get the help that they need and to do it. But it's a societal problem. You know, like I say, just about everything you read about in the paper can be traced back. We've got to get our hands around mental health, and I think you're going to see a big push on that on the Senate side.
My concern with mental health right now is, what is the agency going to look like? It's lost its leadership. It's lost probably a good 30 to 40 years worth of knowledge walked out the door also with Mr. McGill. So that in and of itself is a real problem. And money doesn't always fix the problem either. I mean, we put a lot of money last year behind opioid stuff. I mean, millions and millions and millions of dollars behind it. One thing I do like, and I will support, is I think maybe it's Representative Kempson, or Senator Kempson, doing the bill about where mental health patients not transported by local law enforcement. That's been a burning issue. Commerce is something that's going to continue to be. I think you'll notice that commerce has slowed down a little bit. The tariffs, I think, has got a lot of people a little bit uneasy right now, to the point of it's a wait and see type game. I think today there's a new Congress just got seated. Some things are changing there, obviously. It's going to be Democrat-controlled House and a Republican-controlled Senate, and government shutdown and everything's going on. So there's a little bit uncertain on that. But South Carolina's still doing well. We still have people looking at South Carolina. Upstate's doing really well. There's a lot of focus on the low country. One thing you'll notice with these tariffs and everything else is the port shipments could be affected, which affects also the South Carolina economy. We are deepening our port. We were very fortunate that we were ahead of Savannah on that part. I think something that really is going to dictate where we are as a state in economic development is we've got land. We're working on the roads. We've got to build our rail system back up. Rail is kind of going where it's the new way of doing things because of carbon emissions, big trucks, congestion on highways. It's moving back to rail, going with ships. But the biggest problem we're going to have that's going to 100% stop economic development in the state of South Carolina is the workforce. If you don't have anyone to show up to work and employers can't find folks to come in and work, then they're going to leave, or they're going to downsize, move elsewhere. So I think that's what's important, that we work with the folks. And I'm proud to say we're getting a new career center in districts 5 and 3 and 4 that's been missing. 1 and 2's done an excellent job throughout the years doing it, and they continue to do an excellent job. But the changes we have to make in our educational system, we all get bogged down about education is K-5 through 12. It is not. Education is K-5 in the school system to infinity. You should never stop. It is unfortunate that we take the attitude of, as long as we can get you graduated out of high school, that we have done a great job. Check it off. We've done a good job. That's a little bit wrong. Things have changed, society's changed. We keep doing the same old, expecting the same old result. Well, that's not going to work. You got to look at it totally different. We started that in Anderson. We've been working on that for a while. About the 10th grade, it starts to change. That's where dropouts come in. That's where the whole thing changes. Well, why are they dropping out? Anybody ask? They're bored. Mom and dad, the next generation is educated more than the previous generation. I mean, it's proven. So you got to go and look at that. Start in the 10th grade, get them in career centers, get them, if you're going on a path of a typical four-year university, then go that way. Otherwise, go to a technical college, go to a career center, do dual enrollment. I prefer dual enrollment over the AP courses. Because AP courses, some of you may or may not know, that's the SAT people. The only difference is the AP is portable outside the state boundaries. Dual enrollment's not. So your credits may not transfer to Georgia or North Carolina if you go dual enrollment. Well, what do we want? We want our folks staying in South Carolina. We want them working in South Carolina. We want to create that environment. So that's what we have to do when we write this education program. And then let's don't forget those that dropped out that's got to come back to work. Give them that avenue to get back in there to do it. Might make some of you mad, but we're one of the few states that actually has adult ed outside the technical college system. So, we've done a disservice to ourselves because, Kyle, if I want to come back and I dropped out of T.O. Hanna, I want to come back to T.O. Hanna, well then, if I don't succeed at that again, now you got 2 strikes versus 1 on me. That's absurd. We're supposed to be helping people out to educate them, to get them to be productive citizens. And that's what we need to do and say, you know what, no matter what it takes, let's go do that. Let's achieve that goal. And get the dropouts back and help those that want to go and say, hey, you know what, I finished high school, I didn't go to college, but now I'm 50 years old, but I want to go work in manufacturing, I want to do something different. How do I go back? Well, the way we got it set up, we've changed it a little bit. So you do get a lottery scholarship now for a little bit of it. But the way we had it set up, so you don't qualify for a lottery scholarship. Those are for the kids that come out of high school who can't play the lottery. So all those people that are playing the lottery, hope you get rich, don't have to go to work, there's nothing available for you. So we've got to change that. We've got to get a whole new way of thinking, of doing things. So we're actually taking it K through infinity. So you're never out of the box. You got the availability to come back, get yourself an education, make yourself a better citizen, get some self-esteem. You're going to learn at a different pace. So let's don't hold that same rigor to someone that's 50 years old coming back as we do a kid that's 18 years old, just got out of the system, that's used to studying, that doesn't have a job, that doesn't do all these things. That's where we're going to get back. And then there's a workforce that's untapped. And that's our disability community. Just because they're disabled doesn't mean they can't work. Put them to work, then what does that do? On your balance sheet, that helps your side over here that you're funding all these social programs. Now you don't have to because they're productive. They want to work. Some of you, if you've been to Walgreens and see it, you see the productivity out there, they bring the production level up. They don't want to lay out on Monday morning. And so we call it the Monday morning flu because you watch the NFL on Sunday, so you have the Monday morning flu, you can't come to work. But on Tuesday, you're cured. So they don't have those problems. So it's a good thing that we got to do, but that's the rationale and the thinking that we have to, as lawmakers, take into it and say, look, this old conventional way of doing it, I got a bad teacher, fire them. No need to say, you're on suspension, go to the State Department of Education, you got to go through an appeals process. And that all of a sudden, now half the school year's gone. Now I can't move them. Now I got to go put them somewhere else because they didn't like this school, so I'm gonna move them to that school. It's a bad teacher. Here's a bad employee in your business. You don't say, well, I'm going to take your mic off production on this line. I'm going to move your production on that line because you're bad over here. Or you're going to be bad over there. Get out. We got to do that. You're just bad. So we got to do those things, and that helps the morale. Not only the pay, but you got to do that too. That sort of support system, I think, is missing for teachers and everything we do. We're over testing, and there is no backroom support for a teacher. We we've got the nucleus here, we've got a great interstate, we've got great schools, we need some rail. Water and sewer is another one. I think Dyke, you mentioned that part. Sat down with the Commerce Director, tried years ago to bond out water and sewer infrastructure in the state in certain areas to build mega sites and other type of things, but Governor Haley didn't want to do it. And we talked about doing that again, trying to build out, put some money into a pot, because we do rural water and some other water, but we don't do sewer. Sewer capacity is missing. We got that little bit of a problem in Anderson, not as much, but we really need to have a fund set aside for rural water, rural sewer, and building these big sewer wastewater treatment plants. Until you do those things, it won't happen. We have the money, we have the capacity.
One of the things that we pushed is not just a drug court or expansion of the drug court, but a mental health side of that as well. If you have a schizophrenic who's out on the street and homeless, what good does it do to lock them up for a month down at the county detention center? It does nothing. And I agree wholeheartedly with Senator Gambrell. It's time to really look at mental health in a big way in this state, because, as he said, everything you read in the paper goes back to a mental health issue. Look at all the mass shootings, they all go back to mental health issues. We really do need to do something at that point. But what I wanted to follow up on just briefly is I will be working on a bill, or not necessarily a bill, but some other things to make it more prevalent, some of the things that are available. Chairman White has worked very hard, but I don't know if you know this, we're short 2,000 CDL drivers in South Carolina, mainly truck drivers. So you can get all the containers up to the inland ports, but then what do? We got to get them to the businesses that need the materials that are being shipped in and shipped out. So we're working with on a variety of things that they're interested in. And something that Chairman White had already thought of years ago was a SNAP to Work program that works through the technical colleges that allows somebody who's on the SNAP program to have essentially half of their tuition for a commercial driver's license to be paid. All right, and then there's another fund that's been set up, I think, through Proviso that provides really what would cover the other half. What we have to do is get the agencies to promote those kind of things in the SNAP offices and other places. So if you can help with that, we'd be very thankful. But there's a great, and as Chairman White's already said, once you take people out of the dependency on some of the state programs and put them into a job making $50,000 to $70,000 a year driving a truck, guess what happens? They're paying taxes too now.
We've got workforce issues for the next 5 and 10 years, but we've also got 20 and 30-year problems, and that's early childhood literacy. And I think that's one of the things that we can do at home that doesn't necessarily require a state solution. Right now in my district, District 1 has a Y mentor program through the Y. I've been doing that for about 6 weeks, meeting with a kid for 30 minutes a week, and it's been really good because we play cards, but then I make him read before we play cards. So we get some of that in. And then I know the United Way is looking at that. But if you're looking for ways to get involved in your community and having a direct impact, get into the elementary schools. Get into these programs that are taking kids, helping them learn how to read, helping them breaking that summer gap, and really, because that's going to solve our 30 and 40-year problems.
The number one thing that drives retiring or near retirement teachers out of the business is the fact that we burden them down with so much paperwork, and we tie their hands, and we don't allow any discipline, any effective discipline of any kind in the classroom. And so, you know, in some places, people manage to work around those limitations and do a valiant effort, just like they're doing at Campbell. But we can make their job a lot easier. And if we'll do that, I think we'll see some of these people come back that we've lost in the teacher workforce. And so, you know, on that topic, I sponsored a bill, and I may bring this back at some point a couple of years ago to allow parents rather to opt out of some of the more unnecessary high-stakes tests, standardized tests that weren't going to have any bearing on whether the student graduates or not. They're just sort of like there. And you know, and since then, I'm glad to say that even though my bill didn't pass, that it has started an increasing amount of attention on the issue of high-stakes testing. We're continuing to have that conversation, and so that's just one aspect. Certainly teacher pay is an aspect, certainly funding for safety and resource officers is an aspect, and I support all of those. But the single biggest issue that I hear from teachers on the ground in places like Townville is just let us do our job.
This is where this needs to go back, in my opinion, is toward the community. I think the community, and I think whatever we need to do, we need to make it happen. To do the assessments on a local basis, but you know, it's just another example of the Anderson area taking up the mantle themselves and addressing the problem. Just to kind of segue into another, I think another thing that we miss out on with a lot of our issues, not only our senior problems, but our problems, period, mental health issues, you call it. We don't use our faith-based organizations near as much as we should. Not saying that we need to get involved with them. They do a wonderful job, but I think we need to encourage them all we can, because preachers see a lot. You know, I've always said my hat's off to people that teach and people that preach, because they see it all. But you know, they see them from birth to the preacher stands over them to bury them. You know, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for our faith-based organizations, and they're already doing a wonderful job. But I think they would be more than willing to step up and help. The senior population is exploding in South Carolina. Just to give you some figures, in the next 5 years, there'll be some here. Everybody's familiar with Hilton Head, South Carolina, Highway 278. What a booger it is trying to get in and out of there on Saturday and Sunday. They're fixing to build 50,000 new houses on Highway 278 in the next 5 years. Just think what's coming. And most of those houses are going, all along 278, those are retirement communities. 15 of those 50,000 houses are going into, what is Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville, where I want to retire to. But, but, you know, that's, and around the Charleston area, they're looking at 150,000 more houses. That's a ton of people. We're going to be stunned when they do the census in 2020 at what's happening what's happening in South Carolina. I think we're the 9th most attractive or fastest growing state, and you know, I-85 and I-95 can't get them here fast enough. But that's going to be a real problem, from infrastructure to taking care of, because most of them, all of them that are moving here are retirees, and then you know it's coming like a wave. And we better start getting prepared.